The outpost on Darwinine was calm that morning. Humans and aliens worked together, side by side. Machines hummed softly. The skies were blue with twin suns rising slowly. But inside the main hall, tension was about to explode. Commander Rick Mason was drinking his morning coffee when the shouting began. "How dare you serve me this garbage?" The voice was loud, sharp, and proud. Everyone turned. Standing in the middle of the hall was an alien girl, tall, with bright silver skin, long white hair, and glowing blue eyes. She was beautiful, but dangerous. Her name was Zalanara of the highborn Talvik clan, daughter of one of the galaxy's most feared warlords, and she was furious. The kitchen assistant, a young human named Ben, stood frozen in front of her. He had served her a plate of warm protein strips and fruit paste. "Ah!" But Zalanara didn't like the temperature. "This is cold." "Are you trying to insult me?" she snapped. Ben stammered. "Sorry, I didn't mean," before he could finish. Zalanara grabbed the tray and threw it in his face. The food hit him with a splat. The room went silent. A spoon clinked to the floor. Even the alien guards looked stunned. No one had ever dared humiliate a human on this outpost. Not like this. Rick slowly stood up and walked toward her. Zalanara turned and looked at him with pride. She expected fear, maybe a fake smile. She didn't know Rick Mason. He stopped in front of her and wiped some of the paste from Ben's shirt. Then he looked her straight in the eyes and spoke in a calm, cold voice. "Someone should teach you manners." Zalanara blinked, surprised. "Excuse me?" she hissed. "Do you know who I am?" Rick didn't answer. He turned to Ben. "You all right, Ben?" Nodded, shakel. Rick then looked at Zalanara again. "You have three choices. Apologize to him, clean up this mess, or I'll make a report that goes straight to the council." Zalanara laughed a high, mocking sound. "You think I'm scared of your human council?" "No," Rick replied. "But I think your father won't like it if the humans pull their engineers out of Talvik trade deals. Will he?" Her smile faded. Everyone was watching. No one dared speak. Then, with her chin high, Zalanara turned and walked out of the hall without another word. Later that day, a meeting was held. Human and alien officials gathered to settle the matter. Zalanara sat with crossed arms, clearly bored. Her father's message was clear: do not cause war over petty insults. So, instead of punishment, they made a decision. Zalanara would serve 1 week under Commander Rick Mason as his assistant. When she heard it, her mouth dropped open. "What? You're assigning me to that brute?" Rick just sipped his coffee. The lead alien elder said, "You will learn respect through duty, and Commander Mason is well known for his discipline." Zalanara stood up and stormed out again, her silver cloak swaying angrily behind her. The next morning, she reported to Rick's engineering deck in tight clothes. Her hair styled like royalty and a smug smile on her lips. "I'm here to serve you, oh great human commander," she said with fake sweetness. Rick didn't even look at her. He tossed her a datapad. "Start by logging the energy flow reports. Lose the heals." She blinked. "Excuse me?" He turned around. "You're not here to impress anyone. You're here to work. You can leave if you prefer a council report instead." She clenched her jaw. "Fine." For the next 2 hours, Zalanara struggled. The reports were boring. The numbers didn't make sense. The floor was dirty. Her back hurt. She complained loudly. Rick didn't respond once, simply corrected her mistakes, told her to redo the work, and moved on. By lunchtime, Zalanara had had enough. "This is slave work," she shouted. Rick finally turned to her. "No, this is what it looks like when people earn respect. You want to act like a queen? Go back to your palace. Here, we all carry weight." Zalanara stared at him. No one had ever spoken to her like that. Not her guards, not her tutors, not even her father. She wanted to scream, cry, or maybe even hit him, but something deep inside her was curious. Why wasn't he scared of her? Why did his calm words hurt more than anger? And most of all, why did she feel like she wanted to prove him wrong? She didn't know yet, but this was only the beginning. Asterisk Zalanara did not sleep that night. She tossed and turned in her luxury quarters, her sharp mind racing. The human Rick Mason had not shouted, not threatened, not even looked impressed by her status. Instead, he had made her feel small with calm words and quiet strength no one had ever made. Her feel that way before? She had been raised in power. Her father commanded fleets. Her name made soldiers bow. Even other alien nobles treated her like royalty. But this human treated her like a trainee, like some worker. The worst part? He kept replaying his words in her mind. You want to act like a queen? Go back to your palace. Here, we all carry weight. Why did that make her? Burn inside? Next morning, Zalanara arrived at the engineering deck early. This time she wore practical boots, tied her hair back, and didn't say a word. Rick noticed but didn't comment. He handed her a fresh list of duties. Hydropressure valves on level 3. Inspect and log the errors. Don't lie. I'll double-check them. She narrowed her eyes. You don't trust me? No, Rick said calmly. Not yet. That stung. Again. 3 hours later, Zalanara was on her knees literally under a pipe system, covered in blue grime, cursing in her native tongue. A pipe had burst. Cold vapor sprayed her skin. She shivered, teeth clenched. Rick arrived, stood beside her, and simply said, "Seal it, patch it, then report." He didn't offer help. He didn't offer pity, and that made her furious. She slammed the patch kit on the ground and stood up, face flushed. I am the daughter of. But Rick didn't flinch. He looked her in the eye and said, "Then act like it." Heart skipped. He walked away again without looking back. That night, Zalanara surprised herself. She stayed late. She studied the repair manuals. She practiced with broken parts. In her room, not because she wanted to serve the human, but because she wanted to show him that she could, that she wasn't just some spoiled brat. But the next day things got harder. Rick took her to the fusion lab. This is where we stabilize the reactor. Mistakes here can kill us. She nodded, serious now. Your job, he said, is to monitor these 6 gauges. If even one shifts too high, sound the alarm. Don't try to fix it. Just alert. She sat quietly, eyes on the gauges. Hours passed, it was boring, but she stayed focused. Her back ached, but she didn't complain. Then one of the numbers began. 2, rise, slowly but surely. She raised her hand. Rick checked it. Good, he said. He corrected the pressure. Then looked at her. That was the right call. Strange feeling bloomed in her chest. Pride, but not for her name. Not for her rank. For something she did herself. Later that day she made a mistake in wiring diagnostics. A small one. But Rick caught it. Redo this section, he said. I just did it. She snapped. He didn't argue. He just looked at her calmly, firmly. And for some reason, it made her more angry than shouting would have. Do you enjoy embarrassing me? He asked. Rick crossed his arms. You embarrass yourself when you act like your title is your value. I only care about results. Zalanara stood still. She wanted to scream. She wanted to walk out. But instead, she picked up the tools and started again. That evening, she passed the mirror in her quarters and froze. She didn't look like a royal anymore. Her hands were scratched, her eyes tired, her hair messy, but she didn't hate it. She looked real. She whispered to herself, almost confused, "What is happening?" To me, the next morning, things changed again. Zalanara arrived early. Not just dressed for work, but waiting for Rick before he even arrived. He raised an eyebrow. You're early. She said nothing. Just handed him a data pad. I checked the valve reports from all decks last night. Found 3 that were showing false normal values. Rick looked through it, impressed. You did this alone? She nodded. Good job. 2 words. That's all he said, but her chest warmed. For the first time in her life, praise felt earned, not given. Then something unexpected happened. While she was reviewing a fuel line connection, she slipped and fell. Nothing serious, but it left a long, red scratch on her arm. Rick quickly came over and helped her up. You all right? She looked at her arm. It's fine. He took her hand and checked it carefully. His fingers were rough, but gentle. "You should disinfect this," he said softly. Their eyes met. For a second, everything stopped. Then he stepped back, professional again. She quickly looked away, heart beating faster. Was it just the pain? Or something else? She didn't know. But she knew one thing. The human wasn't breaking her. He was changing her, and she didn't know yet if that scared her or excited her. By the third day, Zalinara no longer walked through the engineering deck like a princess entering her court. She walked in like a worker. Head up, eyes focused. No more silk robes, no guards. No games, but the whispers followed her. "Is that the same spoiled alien girl? She's been working non-stop? I heard she fixed the reactor's backup valves herself." Rick heard them too. Didn't comment. But he watched her, and he waited, because he knew it wasn't over yet. Zalinara was changing. But pride dies slowly. It hides in small things, and on the fourth morning, it returned. She walked into Rick's office with a smug little grin. "I reviewed and corrected the fuel line calibrations without help. 10 full decks alone." Rick glanced at her. "I noticed." "It was decent work. Just decent." She asked, leaning on his desk. "You missed a micro leak in deck 4, he replied. Her smile vanished. "That's not fair." "That leak was barely visible." He didn't raise his voice. He just said, "You said without help. That includes catching the hard stuff." She clenched her jaw. Then she exploded. "So that's it? No praise? No well done. You act like nothing is ever good enough." Rick stood, not angry. Not loud, just steady. He walked around the desk, stood in front of her, and said in a quiet voice, "Do you want praise, or do you want respect?" Zalinara froze. Those words hit her deeper than she expected. She opened her mouth, then closed it, because for the first time, she didn't know the answer. Later that day, Rick gave her a task no one expected. "Assist in the brig," he said. "The prison?" She blinked. He nodded. "An alien smuggler was caught. You'll process the intake." "But that's grunt work," she replied. Rick said nothing, so she went. The smuggler was ugly and rude. When he saw Zalinara, he smiled with rotten teeth. A princess in the dirt. He laughed. "What happened? Little highborn? Your daddy get tired of you?" Zalinara wanted to slap him, but something stopped her. Rick's voice echoed in her mind. "Do you want praise or respect?" So she didn't slap. She didn't scream. She did her job, and when it was over, the guard on duty pulled her aside and said, "You handled that better than most rookies." Zalinara didn't smile, but inside, something stirred. That evening, she walked back into Rick's office quietly and placed the completed log on his desk. He looked at it, then at her, then back at the log. "You didn't lose control today," he said. She shook her head. "I remembered what you said." He raised an eyebrow. "About respect." She nodded. He handed the log back. "Then earn mine. Check the oxygen filters. All of them now." "No, thank you." No warm smile. Just work. And yet, she didn't mind, not anymore. Hours later, Zalinara stood under a large oxygen converter. Arms covered in grease, hair sticking to her face. Rick walked in silently. She didn't notice him at first. She was muttering to herself, focused, fixing a faulty node. Without help, he watched her, and for the first time, he smiled. Just a little. "Stop," he said finally. She jumped. "You scared me, you passed." She blinked. "Passed what?" He tossed her a badge. It read, "Honorary Field Technician, Tier 1. Her eyes widened. "I thought you said I didn't earn your respect yet." "You didn't?" Rick said, with a smirk, "but you earned theirs." He nodded toward the crew watching from behind the glass. They were clapping softly, but real. Zalinara looked down at the badge. For once, she had no words. Back in her room that night, she held the badge in her hands. No diamonds. No royal symbol, just cold metal and engraved letters, and yet it meant more to her than any crown because she had earned it. Not with her name, not with her, his father's power, but with herself. But not all were happy. Far away a transmission reached. Her father's warship, Zalanara, was working under a human, obeying him. Changing, the warlord frowned and gave a command. Bring her back now. Asterisk, the sky above Darvanine, darkened not with clouds, but with warships, from massive Talvek destroyers. Broke orbit, their silver hulls shining like sharp blades against the stars. The crew of the outpost stood frozen, staring at the screens. Commander Rick Mason stepped into the control room, jaw tight. They're here for her, he said. Zalanara stood in silence, looking up through the glass dome of the engineering deck. She recognized the lead ship instantly, the Void Screamer. Her father's personal vessel. She didn't smile. She didn't panic, but her hands were shaking. Behind her, a small voice spoke. You going to run? Rick asked, arms crossed. She turned slowly, met his eyes. They think I'm broken, that I've been tamed. And have you? He asked calmly. Her chest tightened. No, then prove it. 3 Talvek guards entered the outpost. An hour later, tall and armored in black, they handed Rick a scroll. This girl has been compromised, the lead said. Return her to the warship for cleansing and mind correction. Rick raised an eyebrow. She's not a prisoner. Is Talvek. She is my crew, he answered. She stays unless she chooses to leave. The guards stared at him. No threats were spoken. But the air turned cold. Rick didn't blink, and Zalanara stepped forward. I will not return as a shamed daughter, she said. Then prove your worth, one guard hissed, pulling out a ceremonial blade. A duel, he said. Prove thee. Human hasn't made you weak. Fight me. The outpost gathered in the training arena. The duel was legal, part of Talvek customs, and deadly. Zalanara stood in the circle, blade in hand. Alone, Rick watched from the edge, his hands clenched into fists. You don't have to do this. She looked at him. Yes, I do. She stepped forward. The guard charged first, fast, strong, experienced. Zalanara dodged the first strike, spun around and landed a weak blow. The crowd gasped. He countered hard, knocking her back. Blood appeared on her arm, but she didn't fall. She steadied herself, breathing hard, remembering the drills, the patience. The control Rick had taught her. This wasn't about rage. This was about discipline. On the third clash, she caught his blade in a trap move and spun her body low, knocking his legs from under him. He crashed to the ground. Her blade touched his throat. Silence, the guard stared up at her. Shocked. Zanara whispered, just loud enough for Rick to hear. Weakness is needing others to fear you. Strength is earning their respect. She stepped back. Didn't strike. Didn't gloat. The crowd erupted into shocked murmurs. The Talvek guards were forced to bow. She has passed the challenge, the lead said. And just like that, she was no longer the spoiled girl who had arrived. She was Zalanara, the disciplined. Later that night, she walked into Rick's quarters without knocking. He looked up. You could have died, she sat across from him. But I didn't. Because of you, he shrugged. You're the one who fought. Ow. She hesitated, then asked something strange. If I had lost, would you have come for me?
Rick didn't
answer right away. Then he said softly, yes, even if it meant facing your father myself. Zalanara looked at him. Why? He stood up, walked over, and gently placed his hand over hers. Because you stopped being a problem, he said, and became someone worth fighting for. Her breath caught in her throat. No one had ever said that to her before, not even her father. Outside, the Talvek ships left quietly inside. The fire in her heart burned brighter than ever, not from pride, but from a new feeling she couldn't name. Rain wasn't common on Darvanine, but when it came heavy. The sky turned black. Thunder rolled across the plains. Wind howled through the metal corridors of the outpost. Everyone took shelter, except Zalanara. She stood alone outside, letting the cold rain hit her face. Soaked to the bone, she didn't move. Her long white hair stuck to her cheeks. Her silver skin shimmered under each Flash of lightning. She wasn't crying, but her chest ached like never before. She had won. The duel. Earned respect. Chosen to stay. But something inside her was breaking anyway. Not from shame. From need. Rick found her standing by the old landing pad. Arms wrapped around herself. "You'll catch something standing out here," he said. She didn't answer. So he stepped beside her, rain pouring off his jacket, and said softly, "What is it?" She finally turned to him. Her voice cracked. "Why does it hurt to finally be free?" Rick didn't rush her. He let her speak. "All my life, people listened to me out of fear, obeyed me because of my name. But here, no one bows. No one flatters. They only care if I pull my weight. And for the first time, I feel seen." She looked away, and it scares me. Rick placed a blanket over her shoulders and guided her back inside. She didn't resist. Inside his quarters, she sat near the heater, hands shaking. He handed her a warm drink and spoke gently. "Being seen for who you really are, it's scary. For everyone, because it means the mask is gone." She looked up at him. "You always talk like you know everything." "I don't," Rick replied, "but I know what it's like to be alone, to want something real." She held his gaze. "Then tell me," she whispered, "was any of this real? Or was I just a lesson for you to teach?" Rick took a breath, then stepped closer. "It started as a lesson," he admitted. "But somewhere along the way, started caring, not because you changed for me, because you wanted to change for yourself." She blinked, heart pounding. "And now?" she asked, voice barely audible. He knelt in front of her. "Now I see a woman who could lead nations, but chooses to fix broken pipes and stand beside her crew." Their faces were inches apart. "But I'm not your crew," she said softly. "No," Rick said. "You're something else." Before either of them could speak again, the emergency siren blared. They jumped to their feet. A storage unit near the reactor had collapsed. Fire was spreading. Rick and Zalinara ran into the smoke-filled tunnels. Flames licked the walls. Crew members shouted. And in the middle of it, Ola Child, a young alien trainee, was trapped under a beam. Without hesitation, Zalinara dived forward. "Zal, wait," Rick shouted. But she was already under the wreckage. She pressed her shoulder to the hot metal and screamed as she lifted. The child crawled out, but Zalinara's leg got pinned. Rick rushed in, flames surrounding them. "Don't you dare leave me now," he growled, lifting the beam with all his strength. Together, they got out, falling into each other as the fire crews arrived. Later in the medical bay, Zalinara lay on a stretcher, bandaged, but breathing steady. Rick sat beside her, holding her hand. "You could have died," he said. She smiled faintly. "So could you? You didn't have to go in?" "I wanted to," she replied. Silence. Then she reached into her jacket and pulled out something strange, glowing crystal on a small cord. "What's this?" Rick asked. She placed it in his hand. "A bindstone," she said. He blinked. "That's sacred among your people." "It is," she said. "Links to souls. Not by force, by choice." Rick looked at her, stunned. "Are you sure?" She nodded, then whispered, "You didn't just teach me discipline, Rick. You taught me what it means to love without control." Outside the window, the storm was fading. But inside their hearts, something new had just begun. Asterisk the bindstone still glowed faintly in Rick's hand. He hadn't spoken in over a minute. Zalinara. Weighted eyes calm, heart racing. This wasn't a playful gesture. Among her people, a bindstone was sacred. Once accepted, it meant shared fate, shared honor, shared future. Rick finally looked up. "Are you sure you want this?" he asked softly. "Psst. Once I wear it, there's no going back." Zalinara nodded. "You didn't run when I was at my worst. You faced my father's soldiers without blinking. You risked your life to pull me from fire. If that's not loyalty, what is?" Rick slipped the cord over his head. The bindstone pulsed once warm and alive. "Zal." Nara smiled. And somewhere far above Darvanine in the Talvek archives, a signal blinked green, but peace didn't last long. 2 days later, the outpost received a silent transmission. A rogue Talvek cruiser had gone dark during a patrol near the edge of human territory. It carried high-level weapons, and it was now missing. Rick was summoned to a war council. Zalinara followed him in, standing behind his chair knot as a spoiled princess, but as his second. When the image of the missing ship appeared on screen, Zalinara's blood ran cold. "Know that ship," she whispered. "The Blood Rain. My cousin commands it. She was never loyal to peace. If she's gone dark, it means rebellion." The room froze. Rick stood up. "We need to intercept before she reaches any populated sectors." But one alien official growled, "You speak boldly, human. This is our family matter." Zalinara stepped forward. "Then let me deal with it, as Talvek, as is bonded." "Partner," the room gasped. Rick nodded beside her. "She has every right. I'll go with her." Within hours, they boarded a light assault shuttle, small, fast, barely armed, but time was short. As they approached the Blood Rain's last known coordinates, tension thickened between them. Rick checked the navigation. "We're flying into enemy hands. If something happens..." Zalinara cut him off. "Don't. We're linked now. You don't face danger alone anymore." Rick gave her a look, half concern, half admiration. "You've changed," he said. "No," she whispered. "You just saw who I really was, before I did." They reached the ship wreckage at the edge of a dying asteroid field. The Blood Rain was crippled but still alive. Its engines were dead, life support failing. Inside, a trap waited. Zalinara and Rick entered through a side hatch, weapons drawn. Bodies lay slumped in corridors, signs of internal battle, and then they found her captain, Bazat Talvek. Zalinara's cousin stood at the command deck, injured but defiant, holding a small alien child hostage. "You brought the human, Veza." Spat. "I see he's tamed you well." Rick didn't flinch. Zalinara's eyes narrowed. "Let the child go. Go where a bindstone," Veza hissed. "Do you not see what he's done? He's corrupted you." Zalinara stepped forward. "No," she said. "He gave me a reason to fight for something better. And now I'm giving you one chance." Veza raised a plasma knife to the child's neck. "Try me." Rick fired a flash shot, blinding her momentarily. Zalinara leapt forward, disarmed her cousin with a spin, and caught the child in one smooth motion. Vasa fell hard but wasn't dead. She looked up. Stunned, Zal Nara stood over her panting, holding the child close. "You think discipline is weakness? You think love is control," she whispered. "You never understood. But I do now." She turned away. "You're not worth killing." Back on the shuttle, the child slept between them. Rick piloted in silence. Zalinara watched the stars. "Would you still have accepted my bindstone?" she asked softly. "If I had failed today?" Rick smiled. "You didn't just pass. You taught me something too." She turned to him. "What?" "That loyalty isn't about blood, rank, or rules," he said. "It's about standing beside someone even when you're scared." Hands found each other, and as the shuttle sped through the void, two warriors, once enemies, now moved as one. The outpost was quiet when they returned. No cheers, no crowd, just a deep, respectful silence as Rick and Zalinara stepped off the shuttle side by side with the rescued child, asleep in Zalinara's arms. Crew members stared not at the human, or the alien, but at the bindstone glowing softly between their chests. A highborn warrior, a disciplined human commander, bound not by duty, but by choice. Later, in the quiet of Rick's private quarters, he carefully wrapped Zalinara's bruised wrist. Her skin was scratched from the fight on the Blood Rain, but she didn't complain. She sat on the edge of his bed, eyes locked on him. For once, the room felt too still, too intimate, too real. She broke the silence. "You remember the day I threw food at Ben?" Rick chuckled under his breath. "Hard to forget I wanted to hurt someone that day," she said. "But now, I'd give my life to protect these people." She leaned in closer. "You did that. You showed me who I could be." Rick stopped rapping and looked up. "You chose who you became, Zell." She reached behind her neck and pulled off the talisman of her house. "I'm done being a daughter of warlords. She placed the symbol in his hand. From now on, I'm just yours if you'll have me.
Ah!
Rick stared at the sigil in his palm. Crest once feared across 3 systems, now freely given. He looked up. I never wanted to tame you, he said. I just wanted to walk beside you. Their eyes met, and this time nothing stopped them. Not culture. Not fear. Not the stars between them. He kissed her soft. Sure, steady. And she kissed him back like someone who had never been kissed for love before. In the weeks that followed, change swept the outpost. Zalinara no longer walked in shadows or hid behind titles. She trained with engineers, helped rebuild the damage her cousin had left behind, taught young alien recruits how to handle pressure not with fear, but with purpose. The other highborn nobles who visited began treating her differently, not because of her name, but because of what she had become. One morning Rick found her standing on the observation deck, gazing at the twin suns. She was barefoot, wearing one of his old jackets, her hair blowing in the breeze. He walked up behind her and wrapped his arms around her waist. You look peaceful, he said. I feel full, she replied. Full of fire, she whispered, but calm fire. Not to destroy, to protect. Rick smiled. You ready? For what? For what comes next. Just then a comes alert beeped. A new diplomatic station had requested human Talvek leadership to co-host a peacekeeping mission on a frontier moon. Zalinara smiled. They want us together? Rick raised an eyebrow. You sure you're not tired of fixing things with me? She turned and kissed him again, this time slow, certain. I'm just getting started. The bindstone pulsed gently between them, no. Longer glowing with tension, but with balance. It wasn't about who led. It wasn't about who obeyed. It was about walking forward together. 2 souls from different worlds, bound, not by command, but by respect. Fire and love.